Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. This episode we're going to be taking a look at a piece by the AI Generative artist Leah from Kvix Studio. In this episode we're going to talk a little bit about near-symmetrical harmony. We're going to talk about the blessings of the cherry blossoms, and we're also going to talk about the evolution of the Pan-Asian pagoda. So let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this piece, you're met with quite a bright color palette, mostly in the top region here, and it does actually work with a little bit darker scene to really contrast that light and emphasize that light quite easily. Colors within this work, you really see these natural tones. Of course, you have kind of like a brownish, kind of an earthy brown there, and then the floor, more like a gray, kind of golden type of color. Up here, definitely much more rare color in nature. We have that really fluorescent pink. A little bit of hints of blue as well, but those are kind of harder to see. So, like I said, it is a very the upper region is a very bright spatial composition, and the bottom region is a little bit darker here. We just kind of defining shadows that run throughout the spatial composition. And of course, the result is it really emphasizes the focus here on the pagoda in the center, as well as, say, the really fluorescent and bright tones of that pink there on the top. So we do see a near-symmetrical spatial composition, and I see near-symmetrical because, if we are pretty picky and we're looking at very specific kind of back and forth, it is not perfectly symmetrical, but it is near symmetrical, so it does give that sense of balance, that sense of harmony. This, of course, is also reflected across a vertical center axis there as well. So the result, of course, like I said, very harmonious, very ordered, very balanced visual experience. Very, very nice, and it kind of mimics the scenes of nature as well that we're looking with that harmony. So in this piece, like we said, we have those kind of cherry blossoms, those pink colors up in the top, and these really create a very nice framed lane. So what you'll see is actually kind of like a one-point perspective here, and it's quite interesting because the canopy of cherry blossoms actually frame the pagoda or the shrine here in the center. This is really interesting, of course, that it emphasizes and draws your attention both through the difference in light as well as kind of that framed subject of the spatial composition. And so at the top, we do see what appear to be cherry blossoms, though, and cherry blossoms are probably one of the most iconic things with the Far East. Whether it's the pagoda or the cherry blossoms, definitely very recognizable, one of the most widely recognized symbols as well. And the cherry blossoms are pretty interesting because they do not last forever, and they only bloom for a short part of the season. So due to that, it's normally seen to represent, say, the fleeting nature of life, mortality, or beauty itself. So that's really interesting, and the cherry blossoms has always been seen as very sacred. And so with that in mind, we do see what appears to be a very small pagoda or some type of shrine here in the center. Pagoda is pretty interesting. Just like the cherry blossoms, it is one of the most widely recognized symbols of the Far East. And I actually have a little bit of info on how the pagoda evolved. With that in mind, this might not be what we would call a traditional pagoda, but it does appear like a shrine with kind of that curved rooftop and that design there. And so the pagoda evolved from the ancient stupa, so there's the stupa there, and you can kind of see its iterations throughout there. This is definitely moving a lot farther all the way to what we have in the Far East now today, which are the pagodas. And of course, there are Chinese ones as well as the Japanese ones, but this was the evolution of that, and it's really, really interesting to see how that changed. So with that in mind, of course, you see the stupa and the pagoda are normally used in the temple of some type of shrine or some type of divine scene. And so with that in mind, that's really inherent to its architectural, cultural, and even symbolic identity. So the fact that it rooted from that is incredibly important. With that in mind, we do feel these feelings of divinity here. Very, very spiritual, very sacred scene, and of course that conveys that quite masterfully everywhere from the light to the cherry blossoms to the magic shrine there in the middle. And so this piece was created, I believe it was in Midjourney, so it is an AI generative art piece, and AI generative art is just continues its incredible rise. We're really seeing the mass adoption of these imagination generative machines today, and it's hard to say how the culture will be now that they're growing up with such profound, inaccessible AI art generators. I think the imagination has become even more profound as we can continue to show what we're thinking. So I hope you guys enjoyed. This piece came from Leah over at Kvix Studio. If you guys enjoyed this piece, go check out Leah's other work. She's doing a lot of really good stuff over there. Really, really likes AI generative art, and this is actually the second piece that we've ever showcased from Kvix Studio. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.